You're now streaming. 1 minute till broadcast, 30 seconds till intro.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. Welcome to City Hall. It's great to see everyone here. And we will call this meeting to order at 1 o'clock. And I am on the wrong agenda. One moment. All right, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor Williams.
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton has requested an excused absence for today. Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Caballero has also requested an excused absence. Councilmember Cook.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Rist.
Here.
Thank you.
I believe we have to excuse Councilmember Caballero. So we can go ahead and do that now before we get into the rest of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please show by your hand. Thank you. Councilmember Caballero, you are excused, if you can hear me. Who? Feel better. Yeah, I feel better. All right. Any announcements by council? Yes.
Thank you. I just need to let you know I have to cut out at 4. I gotta catch up for late.
Hopefully we won't be here by 4, but heard.
Just want to let you know up front.
Restaurant lingo, I hear you, sorry. All right, yes, ma'am. Councilmember.
I need to request an absence for the next work session, which is February 22nd. I'll be at my School of Government training.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor of Councilmember Cook being excused, please show by your hand. All right, thank you so much. You will be excused. Any other? Yes, Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple announcements. One is that I was glad to attend at your request and with Councilmember Baker and actually Councilwoman Friedman yesterday, the kickoff celebration for the 100th anniversary celebration for Durham's Parks and Rec. Our department started 100 years ago with a budget of $5,400 and now is a $20 million plus program that provides education, outreach, recreation, healthiness, and opportunities for parks and trails and community centers. So it's an amazing department, and I look forward to celebrating the 100 years during this year and hope you all will be part of those celebrations. The second thing, if I may, I did receive a request from Emily Sutton, who's the Haw River Keeper with Haw River Assembly, who's been doing some river cleanup in Durham, but also collecting data on the health of our rivers in Durham, and has requested making a presentation to the council at an upcoming meeting just to present what they're learning from their data about the health of our rivers. So I would like to request that we put that on an upcoming agenda.
Council members, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I just communicate with the clerk to get that scheduled. Any other announcements? All right, and I am just rolling in from the North Carolina Mayors Association, and it was just a great place to be with mayors of towns and cities of all sizes, and just to really get a really cool perspective of the landscape of North Carolina and where we're headed. Some of the hot topics were transit, of course housing, and making sure you're registered to vote. And after you're registered to vote, please go vote. Please. All right. You want to add to that?
I do. I think I think before our next meeting, early voting will start, so it probably would be a good idea to state that early voting starts next Thursday, and your polling locations throughout the county will be open. I did want to also share to Councilmember Risk's point, I am headed to Philadelphia for the Power Rising 2024 conference or summit, representing Durham, and I'm excited to be in a space where we're talking about economic empowerment and health and wellness. I want to make sure I get everything: political empowerment, community education, technology, innovation, and the key pillars of activism and engagement for women of color. And so I'm excited to represent for Durham. Thank you.
That sounds like a cool conference. I'll look forward to your book report when you come back. All right. At this time, we'll move on with the agenda. I do know I want to just kind of get ahead. I'll give some other remarks before we get to other agenda items. At this time, I will acknowledge our city manager for any priority items.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the Durham City Council. I have two priority items for you this afternoon. Agenda item number 44, which is a citizen matter. Mr. Chris Hahn, the response from Parks and Recreation Department has been added as attachments 2 through 4. And agenda item number 45, a citizen matter, Sarah Maxwell. The citizen asked to be removed from the February 8th work session agenda.
Right, thank you. Not Madam City Attorney Rayberg, but Mr. Deputy City Manager, Senior.
City Attorney.
That's correct. Fred Lamar, Senior Deputy City Manager. I'm sorry.
City Attorney.
No, that's City Attorney. Boy, that was a mistake. City Attorney sitting in for the City Attorney Kim Rayberg. And good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. The City Attorney's Office does have one priority item, that is to request that the City Council hold a closed session at the conclusion of the business at the end of today. I can read you that motion that we have now, or I can read it before we go into the closed session, if you accept that closed session.
Yeah, we can read it before so we won't lose place of it, and at the time that we take that motion up.
Very good, I will do that. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, and Madam Clerk, I'll acknowledge you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. The City Clerk's office has no priority items today.
Thank you all. I always get a little nervous when the city attorneys has priority items, but thank you all for your service. All right. At this time, I will read the consent agenda. Number 1, approval of City Council minutes. Number 2, Durham Open Space and Trails Commission appointment. Number 3, Human Relations Commission appointment. Number 4, Mayor's Council for Women appointment. Number 5, Mayor's Hispanic Latino Committee appointment. Number 6, Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee appointment. Number 7, Racial Equity Commission appointment. Number 8, this is the Finance Department, December 2023 bid report. Under the departmental items, Audit Services Department. Number 9, Audit Services Oversight Committee 2023 annual report. Number 10, Billing and Collections Performance Audit, January 2024. Number 11, Durham Convention and Visitors Bureau, DBA Discover Durham 2023 annual report. Number 12, 2023 Board of Adjustment annual report. 13, 2023 Appearance Commission annual report. 14, 2023 Durham Open Space and Trails Commission annual report. Number 15, 2023 Durham Planning Commission annual report. Number 16, 2023 Durham Historic Preservation Commission annual report.
Mr. Mayor, before you continue, I do want to say that there, the annual reports and the attachments, they are available to the general public. And I do want to make sure that you do take a look at that because the priorities of our boards and committees is important. And we could definitely use a lot more volunteers. And so as I look out into the crowd and see so many of you, I want you to make sure that you're engaged with us in more than one way. So I want to invite you to apply for those positions. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. It is very valid. What you see in these commissions and committees and task forces is what the real work that touches us on a daily basis the most. So you really want to see your city a certain way, get involved in some of these commissions, just apply online. Thank you for that, council member. And you made me lose my place. 17. All right, 17, resolution for conveyance of surplus properties to Durham Community Land Trustees Incorporated. Number 18, 2023 Citizens.
Just want to make sure you lose your place again and just say, I am excited to see number 17. I am not going to pull it, but I am very excited to see that it's moving forward and that we can address this issue. Thank you.
I'm gonna get you a bail over there. All right, number 18, 2023 Citizens Advisory Committee Annual Report. Number 19, third amendment to license agreement with American Towers LLC for the Emergency Communications Department at Parkwood Tower. Number 20, Durham Cultural Advisory Board 2023 Annual Report. Number 21, Durham Environmental Affairs Board 2023 Annual Report. Number 22, Durham Convention Center Authority Board 2023 Annual Report. Neighborhood Improvement Services Department. Number 23, Housing Appeals Board Annual Report for fiscal year 2023. 24, Amendment to Non-Discrimination Ordinance, OEWD. 25, First Amendment to Contract with Affinity Bridges Incorporated to deliver Durham Momentum 360 Financial Academy. Parks and Rec. 26, 2023 Recreation Advisory Commission Annual Report. Number 27, resolution accepting the City of Raleigh Stormwater Restoration Funding Agreement for the South LOB Stormwater Project. 28, First Amendment to Service Contract with Kimley Horn and Associates LLC. 29, contract with ESO Solutions Incorporated for a records management system. Number 30, Street Smart LLC software as a service contract amendment. 31, 2023 Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission Annual Report. 32, interlocal agreement with the City of Durham Central Pines Regional Council and Durham County regarding cost sharing for the City of Durham, Durham County Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan. Number 33, amendment number 4 to professional services contract with DRMP Incorporated for Woodcroft Parkway Extension. Number 34, supplemental agreement number 4 for multimodal grants support with WSP USA Incorporated. Number 35, Tar River Land Conservancy Norris Farm Watershed Protection Project authorization to fund. 36, Eno River Association Riparia Gardens Watershed Protection Project, authorization to fund. 37, proposed bill credit for water customers completing water service line material surveys. 38, proposed boundary revision for the Southeast Regional Lift Station service area. And we have a presentation, the Water Management Department, City Council led in copper rule revision presentation. We'll have 20 minutes for that. And we have a public hearing that will be on our next meeting with this Planning Department, Consolidated Annexation Sagebrook. Item 41, Consolidated Annexation 5802, South Miami Boulevard, multifamily. 42, zoning map change 1339 Cold Mill Road. 43, text amendment, remainder lot width. And we have citizen matters, we'll take on that, which the manager addressed earlier. And the supplemental item, the resolution supporting to end to the violence between Israel and Palestine. One moment. One moment, please.
Because they're expecting a lot of protests.
I would request that number 46 be pulled from the consent agenda.
The chamber, how many people can fit in the.
All right, and those are all of the items on the agenda. I will have this conferred with the manager.
No, I think it's more related to the Palestinian.
All right, and also I'll entertain a motion to approve the priority items presented by the manager.
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the priority items stated by our city manager. All in favor, please show by your hand. All right, all opposed. All right, thank you. One moment. All right. We talked about our Thanksgiving meal up here and where we're going on vacation, all of those things. No, seriously speaking, thank you all for your patience. Colleagues, thank you for your patience. What we were actually discussing was we have a citizen matter. Mr. Chris Hahn, you can go ahead and come up to the podium if you are here. All right. So we'll take your citizen matter first. We do have a water management presentation that we have 20 minutes allocated for, but in proper protocol, we do have to address, we have to take the presentations last. But what we were discussing, just how do we ensure that we hear as many people as possible on this, on the matter for ceasefire. Item number 46. And we have a significant amount of people signed up. It is at the mayor's discretion how we do that. I could either allot a block of time or I could just provide however much time for each person. And what we were discussing is what is the most equitable, fair way that we can hear everyone that chooses to speak. So in regards of that matter, we will allow a minute and a half, 1.5 minutes, to where we can get through all of the cards here, as well as those that are online. But you may address your citizen matter first. You have 3 minutes. You can state your name for the record. I'm so sorry, one moment. I do need a motion. I need to entertain a motion to approve the, no, Madam Clerk, I got your message. We chose to do it on later. This is the one for closed session. Yeah, so we're going to do it at the end.
Motion?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But Mr. Mayor, I just have a question. Are we moving the presentation up?
No, it's going to have to come after the pulled item.
Okay.
Yep. So I don't want staff to be here all day, but also, you know, we're kind of meeting in the middle on it as best as possible. Right, it'll be first.
That means the
anyway.
staff presentation is last.
It will be last. Yep. Okay, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah, you can state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Chris Hahn. I'm a resident of Durham in the Northgate Park neighborhood. And I'm here before you wearing a few hats. One, I'm a parent of a toddler. I'm also the co-director of research and education at the North Carolina Environmental Justice Network. And I've also been organizing around the issue of lead in parks that has been occurring. And we've learned about this issue from research that happened at Duke University last summer that was published. And since that time, a large group of concerned citizens has been organizing to learn more and address the issue appropriately. So for folks that don't know, about 5 parks in Durham have found lead in the soil because they were former incineration sites. And in the 1920s and 40s, when that was shut down, then those areas were converted into parks that we know and love, but no remediation occurred for that transition. And in fact, some of the fill, the ash from those incineration sites was used to level areas in the park. So not only the areas where the incinerators were, but also surrounding areas have also been used, have found that elevated lead in the soil. And so I did want to come today I know to bring that urgency to your attention, because this was an issue that we were able to speak about in June of last year and put on the forefront of what you're doing this year. I want to bring that urgency for a few reasons. Even though this is a decades-long issue that happened well before most of our time, we do have the collective memory and observations that this is occurring now, and we can provide feedback in how this process can take place best. In my role at the Environmental Justice Network, I do a lot of community engagement and community engaged research. And I find that that approach enables to not just inform residents of the environmental harms that are occurring in their areas, but also getting feedback to incorporate where problems and how problems are occurring is really critical. I'll give you one example. Just a couple weeks ago, the EPA did list that the screening for soil levels should go from 400 parts per million to 200 parts per million. They cut an old rule. They cut the screening down in half, recognizing the harm that lead can have in soil. You have appropriately also followed that guidance to cut that in half and follow that guidance. They also said that in some cases you should use a 100 parts per million, cut it further in half. But they said that you should do that when there's known other lead exposures. The Department of Environmental Quality doesn't have that information, but the residents do. They know where the lead paint is. They know where there are problems that there may be lead exposures. So I urge you to actually use community residents for getting that kind of information to make a better plan, not just to understand like their feelings or what's going on, but to actually incorporate that feedback into remediation and outreach plans. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments and that work. I will now move to the pulled items. This is not a public hearing, so there is no proponent or opponent indicated. But I will call the names in the order that I have received them. If you signed up online, you are here in person, and therefore you will need to fill out a physical card. If you signed up online and you are here in person, you will need to fill out a physical card. Also, in addition, as I explained the format and how we'll address this, there are some people who signed up as a Citizens Matter, and that Citizens Matter is titled the same as the item 46. So therefore, all of these will be addressed as item 46. And I'll call those in order as we allot time forward of 1.5 minutes. One moment. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before you,
One moment, please. Nadine Burr, are you in the audience? Okay, there you go.
Mayor, could
Rabbi Saffer. Good. Okay, gotcha. Councilmember.
could I be heard briefly?
Say it one more time.
Could I be heard briefly?
Yes.
making sure the resource person was going to lead us off, or at least give some background information first.
You pulled the item, so you will lead us off.
Great, thank you. There's a lot going on in our community, and I just want to recognize a few folks specifically with regard to this resolution that we're going to discuss today, with the understanding that we're going to discuss it again at a city council meeting, our next city council meeting, Monday after next. And I will have more statements at that time, but just to start us off today, I want to recognize the time and attention so many people have put into this resolution that is on the agenda. First off, to my colleagues, you've each had very deep and often painful conversations with so many of our community members. You've thought deeply about this conflict, and I want to thank each of you for the care that you've put into it. Second, to our constituents, you have called, you have emailed us, you have shown up to speak. Our meetings are live streamed, our agendas are public. Of course, we want you to know what we're doing, but most importantly, we want to hear from you. You've come to this hall, you've shared your anger, you've shared your dreams, you've shared your grief. I'm so grateful that this space has felt safe for you to do that and important enough for you to do that. I just want to recognize how much courage and how much vulnerability it takes to come speak on things that are deeply personal to us. This work session is only the first step in deciding what we as a city want to say and if we want to say something at all. And this resolution is also just a small part of a dream that I think we all share for liberation and for peace. And we have a lot of work to do, and I'm feeling really hopeful. So I just want to thank you, Durham, for coming out to speak.
Council members, thank you, Councilmember Cook. Council members, I will acknowledge you to also share commentary as we go into this discussion.
I would just say that I want to thank Councilmember Cook and Councilmember Baker for taking the lead and making sure that we have good language to work with, or language specifically to work with. I know that the residents in the community that did come together with the mayor came up with some language, and I do want to, there's so much to try and cover with words that you can't, and I really do appreciate each and every voice that comes in here and shares their story, their pain, their passion, the just acknowledgement of our humanity and the work to try and make our community better. And I know that the heart of our people speaks volumes. I just want us all to be able to move forward together, because we here in Durham have a lot of work to do. I think you see that with just what happened this morning or last night with the school board and our superintendent, and you know from the students in our schools who are trying to navigate this space, and you know with all of the folks who've experienced any kind of trauma related to gun violence or war or just oppression, that we've got a lot of work to do, but this is the right tone, I feel like, and striking something that said, or striking the right tone and saying, like, we hear you, we want to do this together. We want to meet you, and we want to figure out a way forward to address the issues we can here in Durham. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. And just a quick reminder, Ms. Burr and Rabbi Soffer, please make sure you, if you haven't already, fill out a physical card. I'll be calling on you still, but just make sure you fill out one of these with the clerk. We just have to have this on record for you, so as we get to that point. Councilmember Rist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. I just want to echo some of the comments my colleagues have shared. You have asked us to listen to you on this issue, and we've been listening deeply. We have been having individual conversations. We've received your emails and responded to many of those. We've heard your comments previously in sessions here, and we'll look forward to hearing more. This is what democracy is all about. All of you who come here, I appreciate your coming here. I know this is something we all have deep fears about, concerns about, pain about this whole situation. It affects all of us in this community. So I appreciate all of you coming here to share your deepest, most personal feelings about this issue. I also just want to say real quick for the mayor who's over there, Mr. Mayor, if I may, in addition to all these conversations, the mayor also pulled together a small group of leaders, faith leaders from the Christian tradition, from the Jewish tradition, from the Muslim tradition, also to bring folks together. So I would just want to thank the mayor, Mr. Mayor, for your work to bring together individuals to try to hammer out some kind of consensus on this, and that was part of the process. So I hope the mayor has heard me on that one, but I want to thank him for that as well.
Councilmember, I apologize. I saw something happening. I didn't want us to get confused over here. The clerks.
I want to repeat my comments, but I just want to, in addition to all the folks who are here sharing their feelings and folks online, I just did want to acknowledge the process you led as well to bring folks together, different faith traditions, to come together and try to figure out what we as a community, how we can respond on this. So that was also an important part of this process of having a response from your elected leaders. So thank you for that leadership.
Totally my pleasure, and I simply took the initiative. It was the residents who really were brave enough to come together, and I'll talk about that a little later. Councilmember Baker, did you have any commentary?
Sure, just very briefly, I just want to thank the enormous amount of community engagement that we've seen on this issue. I don't think I've ever seen the amount of engagement on any other issue that I've participated in the past. You know, I've really been involved in Durham politics and local government since 2017, so just a huge amount of community input and community engagement on this issue, it's complex, and we are 7 voices up here on the dais, and we all have a little bit more of a megaphone and a microphone, but if we can all speak together, then we are a little bit greater than the sum of our parts. And so I think that's something that I think about as we go into this. And I'm going to be here to listen today. So thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. And I am going to...
Can I add one last thing, sorry? And just one last thing, too, in addition to all these comments, I do want to acknowledge my new colleague on the council, Councilwoman Cook. You're the newest person on the council. I appreciate your stepping up. I know this has been a lot of work, a lot of time, but also a lot of energy and passion and emotion you've poured into this. So thank you for your leadership on this. Appreciate that.
Yes, I don't think anyone would ever realize how much work went in behind the scenes on all of this. I am going to go ahead and call names. You will not see your time on the clerk's clock, but you will hear an alert. And we have a significant amount of speakers, so I'm going to be very strict about the 1.5 minutes. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Councilmember Caballero would also like to say a few comments, and she's
Oh, yeah,
online.
sorry, I'm so sorry. And just for the record, you will not see her up here. Councilmember Caballero has a circumstance beyond her control, so she will be joining us via virtual. She will not be able to take a vote, but neither are we really today. So I wanted to make sure we had that capacity there. So Councilmember, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I can hear you.
Could you speak up so we can hear you really well?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, colleagues. Thank you for my excused absence. I am homesick. I just wanted to acknowledge all the work that my council member colleague, Councilmember Cook, did, along with Councilmember Baker, and just all the community conversations around this. I did participate in the small group conversation along with the Mayor Pro Tem a few weeks ago, and I know that this has been a hard conversation for our community, but I'm just really grateful for where we are in this moment, and look forward to supporting this resolution, and also looking forward to hearing public comment on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Council Member. Madam Clerk, we are going to start virtually. The first person I have is Adam Single, right? Adam Single, can you hear me?
Mr. Mayor, there's no Adam Sengel in the queue.
All right. Ann Fields.
Mr. Mayor, there's no Ann Fields in the queue either.
Quay Weston.
Yes, there is a Quay Weston.
Quay, can you hear me?
Hello. I can. Can you hear me?
A little bit. If you can speak up for me.
Is this better?
A little bit. Just make sure you're speaking close into the phone or the microphone. You have 1.5 minutes, and please don't think I'm being rude, but I'll interrupt you at the 1.5 minute mark. Your time starts now.
Thank you. Cool. So I want to name first my appreciation that our city is taking this up, and also we've been waiting a while for this. So I'll start by saying that there are several additions of language that I think would make this resolution more strong and precise. And that's language around like the International Court of Justice ruling, language on hostages, et cetera. But I also want to name that you're going to hear many things today. And regardless of what is said by some opponents, I think calling for the end of death and destruction doesn't make us as a community less safe. It actually should move us towards peace. I think there's so much fear in this space, fear of Jewish neighbor safety, fear of backlash for voting on it, fear of using the perfect words, fear of the impact on future political aspirations. And that's not to invalidate any one community's vulnerability, but to remind us that our fear is not a stop sign, and it should actually move us closer to humanity and finding creative solutions to create peace. So some will say a resolution like this is anti-Israel. Others will say the city of Durham shouldn't have a say on international affairs, anything beyond its scope. And by that logic, I think we will have to ignore that our city is impacted by county, state, and federal decisions. And Mayor Williams mentioned voting. So that's a perfect reminder that we don't exist in a vacuum. And to be honest, this resolution is the easy part. Living into our values after the resolution is passed is the hard part. Creating a Durham that honors the truth of history, that honors all people, regardless of race, gender, religion, orientation, is where we will have to work harder. So it doesn't start and stop with a document. But now, as a unified body, I think you will have to make a choice to be courageous. So I appreciate you for bringing it forward, and I hope you all will support it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Weston. Next, I have Kayla or Layla Champion. Can you hear me? Do you see Kayla online? Okay, Kayla, if you can hear me, state your name, and you have 1.5 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, really well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Hello, my name is Layla Champion, and I live in the city of Durham. I am asking today, like many of us, for you to consider a strong resolution for a permanent ceasefire. I think when you're considering this resolution, it is vitally important for all of us to remember the concept of perfect victimhood. When we think of victims of violence at home or abroad, we often expect them to be weak and vulnerable, involved in a respectable activity at the time of victimization, and blameless in all aspects of the interaction. I am a person who condemns violence in all forms, and I specifically condemn violence against any civilian population. It is important to remember that this conflict did not begin on October 7th, and the Palestinian people are not a people who have gone quietly into the night. They have raged against apartheid, and I suspect that many of us would do the same if we faced such horrific circumstances for 57 years. They are not perfect victims, nor should we expect them to be in the face of countless acts of violence and genocide. I ask that you pass this resolution today and stand with the Palestinian community and our community of Durham as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I have Damon Williams.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
All right, my name is Damon Williams, 27713. Ahmed Basil Ramadan Abed. I would have laid a rose down for this 3-year-old on Monday night, but obviously the city of Durham cannot be contained by the close walls of the council chambers. Ahmed is one of the more than 20,000 Palestinians killed by the occupation since October. When an Israeli government official calls for total destruction, ethnic cleansing, extermination, and genocide, a military officer makes it happen. When that Israeli officer uses US military technology to know ahead of time that a child like Ahmed will be collateral, he operationalizes those genocidal calls. When Israeli soldiers use weapons that my taxes paid for, that soldier carries out genocide in real time in a way that implicates me, implicates us. So I'm here to say that we need a strong ceasefire resolution that honors the loss of this precious 3-year-old and so many others. We need a resolution that tells the truth about this situation. If we cannot call it a genocide, this resolution loses significant power and depth. We need a resolution whose heartbeat is as consistent and strong as the claps and stomps we all felt on Monday. We must amend the resolution so that it will adamantly call for the end to US military aid to Israel, because that is what Durham demands in one strong, loving, and powerful voice. So what will be the rose that this council lays down to honor the dead and fight for the living? The people of Durham say, let it be a beautiful rose, a rose that is worth laying down, a rose that exudes love and liberation from Durham
Mr. Williams,
to Palestine.
thank you so much for your comments. For our guest in the room, really appreciate you supporting someone that states something that you agree with. However, I like the snaps better because when you clap, you totally drown out what they're saying. We can't hear it. So if you will, just either hold your applause to the end or just snap, please. Next person I have is Leslie St. Dre.
Hello, can you hear me?
Could you speak up a little bit?
Hi, can you hear me?
That's better.
Okay,
You have 1.5 minutes. Thank you for joining us.
thanks for having me. After 125 days of Israel's ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians, I am encouraged to see that some of y'all are finally starting to move away from positions, including a position of silence, that enable the indiscriminate slaughter in Gaza and the West Bank. You can't have consensus with those supporting a state that has indiscriminately slaughtered over 27,000 Palestinians, 13,000 of whom are children, and one that is engaged in summits to plan for the development of land they've soaked in blood. Suggesting the oppressed sit down with their oppressors to agree on if the oppressed has rights to live in dignity on their land is, in itself, an act of violence. Let's be clear, Palestinians in historic Palestine are facing the worst atrocities most of us have ever witnessed in our lifetime. The resolution language that was passed by other cities long ago does not meet this moment we're currently in, and this language is even weaker than many of those across the country that were passed long ago. We're here today to demand amendments to this watered-down language to, quote, end violence, giving zero context to October 7th and what Palestinians have endured from their colonizers and their colonizer supporters specifically since before 1948. I'll let others here demanding amendments speak to those details and we can email them to you. We don't need a watered down resolution. We need at least 4 of you to stand strong with us and let Durham set an example that our country built on genocide doesn't have to continue to support it. We breathe together. We breathe together.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next, I have no, that's in person. She's in person. Shiva Marvdashti.
Yes, thank you.
I am
can you
so
hear me?
sorry. Please
That's
pronounce
okay.
that for me.
Marvdashti.
Marvdashti. Got you.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. You have 1.5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Shiva. I'm a Durham resident and healthcare worker here in our city. I provided comment at your work session in December, urging you to introduce and pass a ceasefire resolution. Just want to thank you for hearing us, first and foremost. Since I last spoke with you 8 weeks ago, the healthcare infrastructure in Gaza has fully collapsed, and now with no functioning hospitals and over 27,000 deaths. Over 400 of my healthcare colleagues in this district signed a letter in support of ceasefire, and we delivered that letter to Representative Valerie Foushee on November 14th. That's now nearly 3 months ago. We ask that this resolution reflect the urgency of the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and as such, call for an immediate lift of the siege on Gaza, allowing sufficient humanitarian aid to reach over 2 million Palestinians. I'd also like for you to consider what this new reality means for Palestinians in Gaza beyond the statistics and across generations. These wounds cut deeper than flesh. Palestinians in Gaza have shown us what it means to persist in the face of death, destruction, and despair. But they shouldn't carry this burden alone. We witnessed a powerful moment of collective grief here on Monday, and we owe it to them to move through this grief and toward collective action. As you consider this ceasefire resolution, I urge you to name the gravity of what's being carried out in Gaza and call it what it is, a genocide. Thank you.
Put a check mark behind the side who's here, right? No check mark, they're not here. Okay. Blue Miller. Nicole Bolger. Betsy Arant. Gideon Bueno. James Ndugu. Next, I have Sophia Chimbanda. Sophia, if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Welcome.
Perfect.
You have 1.5 minutes.
Thank you. My name's Sophia. I'm a Ward 2 Durham resident, and I'm here today to call on the council to include a number of points in this ceasefire resolution. Number one, an immediate permanent ceasefire in Gaza as well as in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. Number two, lifting the siege on Gaza to allow for sufficient and immediate humanitarian aid to enter. This point would also include a call for the United States to reinstate UNRWA funding and demand our congressional representatives to block any bills that would impact UNRWA funding. Number three, ending U.S. aid and arms to Israel. And number four, releasing all hostages that are held in Gaza and in Israel. It is important to note that Israel has doubled the number of detained Palestinians since October 7th, with many of these hostages coming from the occupied West Bank. As a local history researcher, I often look to local historical events to understand how we should move forward. In this moment, we can look to former Mayor Wibgully's historic 1986 non-discrimination proclamation, the City Council passing a resolution to oppose apartheid in South Africa, and to being the first U.S. city to ban police exchanges with the IDF in 2018 as moments when the city has stood on the right side of history. It has been 125 days since October 7th, and yet it is not too late to stand in humanity. Free, free Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, and my last online sign up is Meredith Wilkinson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, if you can speak up a little bit for me, and welcome. You have 1.5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Meredith. I'm a Durham resident, and I'm calling in today to express my support for a strong and clear resolution calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. I moved to Durham in 2022, and even before making that move, I learned about the 2018 council decision to ban Durham police training by the Israeli military. And knowing this made me feel safer moving here and excited to engage in community organizations. After knowing this, I've been disappointed that in the face of an ongoing genocide in Gaza, this council has not moved more swiftly to follow in the footsteps of other U.S. cities to adopt a ceasefire resolution. So I ask you to please use this as an opportunity as one step to stay true to this legacy and adopt the community drafted resolution for a ceasefire in Gaza. I really appreciate deeply what former Speaker Quay stated, that this resolution can't be the end of this conversation, but rather a commitment to continued solidarity and justice. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes all of our online speakers. At this time, we will move to our in-person speakers, and what I will do is I will call 5 names at a time, and you will be able to line up at the podium to my right, your left, and the reason why I'm doing that is because this is a very thick deck of cards, and we want to make sure that we can hear as many people as possible. All right? And just a reminder, the Citizens Matter is the same subject matter as the item 46, so they're all being heard together. The first person I have is Vicky Ryder. Next, Eamon Rosenthal. Next, Josh Ravitch. Next is Yotam Kahana. And last, well, not last, but of the 5, Deborah Freeman. Welcome. Thank you for being here. You have 1.5 minutes.
I thank you. I want to thank everyone.
The clerk will send a buzzer, so you won't have a clock to look at, so just hear that.
Okay, I got you. Not easy to condense my remarks, but I'll do the best I can, and I want to thank you for listening to us on Monday night and for listening to us today. I want to preface my remarks with a couple of personal statements. One is my husband is a veteran of the war on Vietnam. He has seen up close what war can do to both sides in a military conflict. We still suffer from that, as do the people of Vietnam. Whether they were North or South, they suffered. Whether Israeli or Palestinian, people suffer in war. And genocide is genocide, no matter which side commits it. The other personal statement that I want to make is that I would urge you not to be swayed by those who might try to equate the call for peace with anti-Semitism. I am a Jew. My parents and my grandparents fled from the pogroms in the early 1900s and the Holocaust of the 1940s, and I can tell you that if they were still with us today, they would be the first to be standing and asking that you use the power of your office and your sense of human decency to call for an end to the bombing, an end to the killing, and an end to the suffering. Simply, we're asking that you sign on to a ceasefire resolution. It would have been very easy to dismiss this issue as having no relevance to the conduct of Durham business, but it has everything to do with Durham business, and we urge you to do the right thing.
Thank you. Please state your name, and you have 90 seconds.
Durham is known as a hotbed of anti-Semitism.
You could state your name first.
Amy Rosenthal. Durham is known as a hotbed of anti-Semitism, which was on full display this past Monday right here. It seemed like Nazi Germany in the 1930s for Jews. The mob intent on our destruction was overpowering, taking over the meeting, grabbing our flag, knocking one woman down, blocking our movement. They yelled anti-Semitic slogans without consequence. We did not feel safe as the mob ranted. Just as Hamas supporters bullied us here on Monday, they are bullying city councils across the country. Hamas is not only a genocidal Islamic terrorist organization, it's also known for breaking ceasefires. They broke the last ceasefire on October 7th when they invaded Israel and gleefully attacked civilians, raping, mutilating, and beheading babies, burning children alive, cutting babies out of pregnant women, shooting nails into their thighs and groin, and more. Hamas promises to repeat the October 7th over and over until all Jews are dead. Some Hamas supporters here are anti-Semitic, while others have simply fallen for the propaganda and are being used as pawns in the quest to destroy Israel and kill Jews. They want everyone to believe that they care about innocent lives, but they don't. Are they calling for a ceasefire in Ukraine? No. 12,000 children killed in Syria? Not a peep. Are they protesting the massacre of Christians in Nigeria? No. What about the Uyghur Muslims held in camps in China? Not a peep.
Madam Clerk.
When it's about Jews, when it's about Jews,
Excuse me.
when it's about Jews, Durham's anti-Semites show up. They're energized when they can blame and scapegoat Jews.
One moment. I have no idea what the hissing is. I don't know. We're not going to be rude and disrespectful. We just cannot. Now, I'm not even doing this for applause. I'm doing it for respect for one another. Now, if we're going to do this the Durham way, then we're going to do it the Durham way. But we will have respect for one another. If we cannot do that, we can't hear each other or even respect one another, then what are we here for? So you may not agree, but we're going to have to find a way to in here, in this hall. So I don't know why. I see humans in here. I don't see any snakes or anything. The hissing cannot happen. The interruption cannot happen. Now, we're trying to find the best way to have this conversation. The fact that we're having the conversation, let's not do that. We're creating space for one another to actually have it. I'm giving you an additional 30 seconds.
Thank you. Thank you. So they want everyone to believe that they care about innocent lives, but they don't. Are they calling for a ceasefire in Ukraine? No. The 12,000 children killed in Syrian civil war? No, nothing. Are they protesting the massacre of Christians in Nigeria? No. What about the Uyghur Muslims held in camps in China? No, not a peep. But when it's about Jews, Durham's anti-Semites show up. They're energized when they can blame and scapegoat Jews. The proposed resolution demonstrates appalling ignorance as it parrots Hamas talking points. We ask faith leaders in the
Thank you
city
very
council
much.
to show
Thank you.
a moral backbone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll also add that, whether, you are for or against a ceasefire, no matter what it is, the council is going to take both of those perspectives. Sir, the clerk. The council is going to take all sides of this argument. So please, look up here, talk to us, okay? Let's not do that, all right?
Josh Ravitch, against the resolution. Can I start?
You may, thank you.
I see a major conflict flaming up in Durham between free speech and mob rule. I looked at your dais the other night and saw a row of police separating you from a mob. Your rights to speak at a meeting you were hosting were totally shut down. You were silenced. We did not have police protection in the audience. Members of our small pro-Israel contingent were robbed of an Israeli flag that was taken so violently that the woman holding it was knocked to the ground. I was standing in the front row and was purposely bumped several times during the mob scene, evidently to unsuccessfully convince me to shut up and move. Even the mob didn't have free speech. They were using crib sheets containing the words they were supposed to chant and shout. I understand this council is under pressure. A small but noisy pro-Hamas contingent of 100 to 200 people is trying to distract you from addressing issues important to the tens of thousands of local citizens who are registered voters. You've got your hands full. However, it's time for faith leaders, city councils, and citizens of good faith to step up and show some moral courage. Don't roll over to the anti-Semitic pro-Hamas mob. If you do, you'll be sending the message to the citizens of Durham that they can bend this council into approving whatever foolish, damaging, repugnant idea they like, simply by bullying you and disrupting your meetings. That will be your legacy. I therefore ask you, no, I implore you to do the right thing. Don't approve a statement or a resolution regarding Middle East policy.
Thank you. Yotam, you have one
Hello, City Council of Durham. My name is Yotam. I'm here a resident in Durham, and I'm here asking you to help us to combat the lies. What happened over here in Durham is that they come over here to the City Council, say about genocide and different things. When they go ahead and outside, you can hear this online on YouTube, they go ahead and cheer for the October 7. With me today, I brought a USB that showing exactly the atrocities that happened in October 7 when they opened a pregnant woman and they murder her babies in front of her eyes before they go ahead and murder her. They didn't stop there. They go ahead and film that in order for the whole Jewish community to go ahead and see what they're about to do to all of us. And those leadership of the anti-Israelis go ahead and praise that. I'm asking you guys, in your resolution that you did, you forgot to mention Hamas. Those people over here, there is a difference between the civilians of Gaza that requested overrule of the people of the Hamas ruling, compared to the people over here that ask for ceasefire in order to continue to put Hamas on the leadership. Hamas is the one that steals the trucks that come with humanitarian aid to Gaza. Hamas is the one that opened the war in 2008, 2014, 2023. If you do not put it's Israel-Hamas war, you miss the whole thing. And I would like to address another lie that's going over here. I want you to Google the growth of the population of the Palestinians. If you Google that, you will see the graph go up, compared to the Muslim in China that goes down currently.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the old police, guys. I prepare for you this one.
To the clerk. All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Deborah Friedman. Rape is not resistance. Torture, beheadings, babies being burned alive should never be acceptable in a civil democratic society. But our council is coerced into making a political statement to appease Hamas supporters. As part of a group, Triangle Democratic Socialists wrote, Hamas's slaughter has been falsely labeled as terrorism. This is unvarnished evil. Why do we allow these people to dictate their warped view of the world? Our city council is plagued with gun violence, a major crisis in our public schools, an understaffed police department. Yet Council considers the request of Hamas supporters who glorified the slaughter of 1,200 Israelis. I can't fathom the moral recklessness of leaders determined to push a resolution at the expense of the safety and security of the Jewish community when you know these resolutions always incite more hate. We aren't democratic here in Durham. We've regressed into the Middle Ages when Jews are ambushed by a mob in a kangaroo court, intent on currying favor with Hamas supporters. I ask council members who value democracy to stop allowing the Jewish community to be sacrificed for political points. I ask the mayor and council to follow the same path that Raleigh and Chapel Hill have taken. Please say no to hate. Make no statement
Thank you so
or
much, Ms.
resolution
Freeman.
regarding the Middle East.
Thank you. The next 5 names: Kathy Kaufman, I have a Catherine Wolf and Phoebe Wolf on the same card.
Can I start? Or?
So I have a Catherine Wolf, I have a Phoebe. Okay. I have a Ka Young Ching, and I have Andrew Gluck. And Raina Rachel Galper can come up as well. Okay.
Okay.
Kathy Kaufman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. As those who know me are aware, I have immediate family in Israel. A member of my synagogue in Chapel Hill has 21 family members killed on October.
Oh yeah, the mics are really sensitive. We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. A member of my Chapel Hill synagogue has 21 family members killed on October 7th and 7 abducted into Gaza. Meanwhile, at home, the vitriol in the atmosphere has been toxic. So I ask that you please not unnecessarily fan the flames. Also, no Israelis were in Gaza on October 6th. Israel is waging a war against Hamas that it did not start and did not want. On October 7th, Hamas invaded and tortured and slaughtered 1,200 people up close and in gruesome fashion. Hamas is still holding 130 Israelis in their Gaza terror dungeons, including some 19 young women. And according to hostages already released, several of those women are being continually raped by their captors. Israel cannot abandon their family, and nor would you. Please do not do this. Finally, I have 2 quick things. One is, I want to thank the police for escorting us out of the building, away from the hostile crowd on Monday night. A very kind officer walked me all the way to my car, which I really appreciate. And finally, I have something for you, Mayor Williams. I hope that you will wear it. I'm wearing this necklace. Many people are. It's not political. In English, it says, "Bring them home now." And in Hebrew, it says, "Halev Shalanu Shavoi Ba'aza." Our heart is a prisoner in Gaza.
Thank you. And I don't want you to think I'm being rude, but electeds aren't allowed to accept gifts. We'll have to gift it off. But thank you. I have, are you Catherine or Phoebe?
I'm Phoebe.
Welcome, Phoebe.
My name is Phoebe Wolf. I just turned 14. But why am I here today instead of in school? Because the Durham City Council is considering a resolution that will make life harder for Jews in Durham. The people in this room say that their ceasefire resolution is about Gaza, they say it's about Israel, but we know that's not true. They're trying to make life harder for Jews here in America, and they're succeeding. Jewish kids are being bullied in school more and more, whether it's a few mean words from a classmate, a teacher who puts up a fake map of Israel's borders, or a swastika that's written in the bathroom. The goals of Hamas was not only to kill Israeli families, but to make every Jew alive fearful and to feel pain, which is precisely why they live-streamed on October 7th. This resolution will only make Hamas celebrate and help their plans succeed to make all Jews in and out of Israel fear. My friends are already afraid to wear a Star of David necklace or a yarmulke now. I can't believe things have gone this bad. Today, the Jews of Durham see glimpses of Nazi Germany 1939. We hear it in the slogans calling for the Jews of Israel to disappear from the river to the sea. We see it in their kafiyas, which is the same garment Hamas wore while torturing over 1,000 Israelis and taking grandmothers and babies hostage. I don't know what's scarier, watching pure evil terrorize your people or seeing so much of the world support it. I'm asking you to do your job and protect us. Do not pass this resolution. It will make the haters more bold. Please put an end to this horror show. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Wolf.
Catherine Wolf. North Carolinians know a good deal about the mob. We've seen it before, how they targeted certain people, how they hounded certain people, how they ran certain people out of town. We thought we were done with the mob. We thought we'd relegated the mob to musty old history books and distant memories. We were wrong, council members. The mob is back. There are more ways than one to oppress a people. The people pushing a so-called ceasefire resolution know this well. You don't need roundups and one-way train tickets. You don't need even to shout people down in City Hall, they've realized. All you need to do is keep up the pressure, in this case, on the Jews. Keep targeting the Jews. Keep hounding the Jews. Keep calling for violence against Jewish bodies. The mob loves nothing more than to feel its power. The mob is energized by oppression it imposes. It is up to you, City Council members. Will you bow to the mob the way officials before did? Or will you reject any resolution that seeks to impose a ceasefire on Israel, and in doing so, turn the mob away? History is calling. Set things right this time. Thank you.
I want to remind everyone to focus your attention up here as you're speaking. Are you Mr. Gluck?
Andrew Gluck.
Are you Andrew Gluck? Are you Andrew Gluck? Okay, sorry, I'm out of order here. Thank you.
Why you consider this? Durham has zero say in international matters. Durham did something similar to this and is now known as the anti-Semitic capital of North Carolina. I believe you have actual local issues you should be addressing that you can do something about. All you're doing now is dividing the community. The Hamas terrorist supporters who have spoken before you claim to care about Muslim lives, but they don't. Did they come before the City Council when 500,000 Muslims were killed in Syria by other Muslims? No. Do they come before you on behalf of the Uyghur Muslims tortured in China? No. They come before you now because they can blame Jews for the situation in Gaza, which is solely the responsibility of Hamas terrorists who invaded Israel on October 7th. Women and men were brutally raped, tortured, mutilated, and murdered, babies beheaded and burnt alive. This is the outrage, and those Jewish lives matter. How many times has Durham even entertained a resolution about a ceasefire concerning a country that was brutally attacked? Only now, because Jews are involved. You guys should be ashamed to even consider something like this. You have no say in any of this. Anything you do only affects your community. Cannot do anything internationally. And there is absolutely no reason. Raleigh decided against this. Greensboro decided against this. It's a waste of your time when you should have lots of other things in Durham that should be handled. That is a local issue, not international. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will ask you to pronounce your name appropriately so I can be able to respect you.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Gayan Zhang Miao. I'm with the United for a Fair Economy. We believe that the war in Gaza right now is a defining moment for us. We believe in safety for all people. That includes Jewish brothers and sisters, also our Palestinian and Muslim brothers and sisters. Howard Zinn said that. I want to say that the dispossession and the oppression of Palestinians is a recipe for more war and more violence. It is not a recipe for peace and safety. And also, Howard Zinn said you can't be neutral on a moving train. When there's a genocide happening, when our taxpayer dollars affecting us is aiding Israel in committing genocide, when our residents right here are suffering and our own city workers can't even afford to live here anymore and they have to live in hotels, the least that we can do, the bare minimum, is to speak up and say that this is not okay. Please join us in calling for a permanent ceasefire. That includes language around immediate ceasefire for all of historic Palestine and the U.S. aid and arms to Israel, lift the siege on Gaza to allow immediate and sufficient humanitarian aid to enter, release all hostages held in Israel and Gaza, end Israel's genocide of Palestinians, and end the occupation of Palestine. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
You may now.
And just for the record, my name is Rena Rachel Galper.
Thank you for that.
So first of all, I want to say that suppressing the dissent because we don't agree with opinions is not anything that I respect. I will say that I think tempers and feelings are high, so I'm going to make an effort to not come from a place of trauma as I talk to you. There is genocide that is going on in Gaza. That does not diminish the fact that there have been hostages taken and killed. I believe that we have the capacity to hold both things. They are not equal, and yet it grieves me. What I do want to say is that there is also a lack of clear information on what is going on. So some of the allegations of rape, babies being torn out, I would suggest that you actually read Jeremy Scahill's article, because there's been extensive investigation and rebuttal of those claims that are part of an Israeli campaign of disinformation that has been bought lock, stock, and barrel and is driving policy. And so I think it's really important to be well educated on this and to also hold some loving space where people can come to the table and be dedicated to liberation. And this is really powerful because this is not just about Palestine. It's about continued racist practice in Durham. It's about the Parent Bill of Rights that is actually censoring our LGBTQ community. So there's
Mr.
a
Mayor,
lot of intersection,
the time is
which
up.
makes this issue very close.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I did not hear it that time. The next few names I have. Can you see what that is? Lori? Leanne? Is that Lorraine? Nevin. I can't really understand the handwriting. I'm going to try it. Lorraine or L'Oreal Mihan? Yeah, okay. Eli DeWitt. Emily Wilkes. Caroline Booth. Mo Brady. Nadine Burr. Thank you. You have 1.5 minutes.
My name is Lorraine Meehan. I'm a survivor of the World Trade Center. I witnessed the murder of thousands right in front of me. I saw people jumping. I saw people on fire right in front of me. I survived, but my husband, who was a federal agent, did not. He later died from his exposure from the first tower while recovering bodies of the dead. And I have to live with that. Our nation fought back to defend itself against that attack. So now, with Israel doing the same, why is Israel being held to a different standard? Why are you holding Israel to a different standard? Those demanding ceasefire are the same who screamed from the river to the sea, a call for the apartheid, a call for the genocide, and for the ethnic cleansing of the Israeli people. Israel is a sovereign nation, founded by the original progressive movement and indigenous people seeking to return to their homeland. Our country was not demanded to cease fire against al-Qaeda. We defended ourselves. So why now are you asking Israel to do the same?
Thank you.
Hi, members of the council. My name is student Rabbi Eli DeWitt. I am a resident of Durham. I was born and raised here as a member of the beloved Jewish community. And I am here today not because my religious convictions alone support me as I enter a 4th month of calling for a ceasefire. I'm actually here to speak from a place of moral clarity that needs no religious justification. I stand with my neighbors, the people of Durham, who are saying no to genocide, no to ethnic cleansing, no to starvation built upon 75 years of brutal colonial occupation. As a Jewish spiritual leader, I am uniquely positioned to say the occupation of Palestine is not an elusive religious conflict. We must support each other in articulating the true root causes of the 75 years occupation, such as the violence of imperialism, white supremacy, Christian supremacy, and racial capitalism, which is exactly why the resolution that you all put forth and that you approve must be strong. We know that these violent structures touch our community too. As many have spoken to today, a stronger ceasefire resolution is just the first step in facing all we need to do together. We need an immediate and a permanent ceasefire named by our council as a priority, and we need to unequivocally state that Durham says no to more U.S. aid to Israel, to any U.S. aid to Israel, particularly not $17.1 billion.
Thank you very much for your time. Emily Brooks. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, my name is Emily, and I'm a pastor here in Durham, calling on the City Council to vote to adopt a ceasefire resolution. I want to build upon an important point Quay Weston named during the public hearing on Monday, explicitly connecting the displacement of Palestinians with the displacement of vulnerable communities here in Durham. These issues are interconnected, and the idea that an international statement distracts us from local issues is a false binary. Because the market forces driving developers to build here in Durham, regardless of the potential for displacement, are undergirded by the same market forces driving Israeli real estate firms to capitalize on the forced displacement of Palestinians and build new settlements on the decimated Gaza Strip. So when you all vote on Monday, know that what you're doing is building trust. Not just trust in the democratic process, not just our trust in the democratic process, but also trust that you'll stand in solidarity when the most vulnerable here in Durham are at risk of displacement. Because how can we trust on this body to stand against displacement here in Durham if you don't stand against such a horrific, massive, wide-scale displacement event around the world? As Councilmember Baker said on Monday night, this body may not feel empowered to enact systemic change on the world stage, but in the cases where you do have a clear opportunity to fight developers who don't care about the people of Durham, we want to trust that this body will stand in the corner of the most vulnerable. And so voting yes on this resolution is a vote for our trust in the democratic process and shows us that you're willing to stand against displacement, whether across the world or right here in Durham. Thank you.
Thank you. Caroline Booth.
Hi. My name is Caroline Booth, and I am a Durham resident living in the Moorhead Hill neighborhood. I have stage fright, and so I am scared to be standing here, but this is a topic that is important to speak up about. I am strongly in favor of the City of Durham passing a ceasefire resolution. Do I think Durham taking a stance is going to end the war and change the world? No. But I do think this is something tangible that we can do to put pressure on higher levels of government to take action and can ultimately save lives. My family lost my beautiful 18-year-old brother-in-law, Ethan, to gun violence 3 years ago, and so I'm familiar with the profound grief that comes with losing family. I can only imagine the deep sense of loss and trauma that the Palestinian community is experiencing, having lost around 30,000 souls. This is an opportunity for Durham to communicate to our state and to our country what our community stands for. I am vehemently opposed to my tax dollars funding the genocide the Israeli government is inflicting on the Palestinian people and would much rather that money go towards paying our sanitation workers and our teachers a living wage. Thank you.
Mo Brady.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Mo Brady. I live in Durham City, zip code 27707. I'm here to ask all of you to join the 70-plus other U.S. cities in adopting a resolution to support a ceasefire in Palestine. Not a vague end to violence, but a ceasefire. I also ask that you take time to determine which avenues our tax dollars are taking towards Israel and end the city's financial support for this war that began in 1948. I would also ask that a resolution includes language that explicitly states the City of Durham's stance against genocide and apartheid in all forms, and that it include language supporting the release of all hostages, including the hostages currently being held without trial by the Israeli military. Thank you for your time, and I remind everyone listening again that we are all connected as human beings, that wanting safety for Palestinians is not anti-Semitism, and that this genocide has not made anyone more safe. Indiscriminate murder does not make anyone safer. Bombing communities to rubble does not make anyone safer. Setting olive groves ablaze does not make anyone safer. 13,000 children dead does not make anyone safer. Never again is now, and it never again means never again for anyone. We are obligated to one another to love and honor the life that connects us all. Please call for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Nadine Burr.
My name is Nadine Burr. I live in Durham. Which words from Gaza changed you forever? She is my mama. I know her from her hair. I don't want to wash my hands. That's all that's left of my children. Are you taking me to the cemetery? No, dear. You are alive and as beautiful as the moon. Whoever stays till the end will tell the story. What story will Durham tell? Will we tell a story of how we stood for justice to call for a permanent ceasefire, to name a 75-year occupation of the Palestinian people? Will we call out the genocide that is clearly happening with 30,000 Palestinians dead? Will we call out Israel for not caring about their own hostages as they keep bombing? We hear the pleas from the hostages' parents. We should listen as we call for a stronger ceasefire resolution. Let's make it as strong as we can. Let's tell the truth of the nature of the atrocities happening in Palestine. Let's protect each other here in Durham as well. We do not stand for anti-Semitism. We also do not stand for people coming against the Palestinian people, our Muslims brothers and sisters. And I want to share that as one of our members from Mothers for Ceasefire came in with her baby stroller, a security guard said, check the baby, it might have a bomb on it, ha. She's gonna be making a complaint, an official complaint to you, but this is what we're talking about.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next names that I have, Robert Gutman, Maya Coyne, Manju, I'm just going to leave it at Manju, Adrienne Marie Brown, and Victor Ortiza. Mr. Gutman, you are up now. Is there a Maya Coyne here? Maya Coyne. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Council, and especially Mr. Williams. I'm aware that you put a lot of effort into this, and I thank you for that, and I understand that you see this as a useful compromise to help you get through this chaos. To those who say that it was an invention, you haven't seen the film that was taken from the GoPros of the terrorists showing themselves killing and showing themselves smiling and laughing. It was awful. So is the bombing and the unnecessary attacks, unnecessary killings of the Palestinians, but most of that was because the terrorists are hiding behind these civilians. They didn't need to do that, and they're still doing that. Hamas is not mentioned in the resolution. It really has to be because they are the ones who started this. The term permanent ceasefire is a surrender. Hamas has promised to continue. They're not going to obey a ceasefire. You're only asking Israel to forever stop trying to resist the terror that they've already seen and that was promised. I'm a physician, and I learned a lot in medical school, and one of the most important lessons I learned from a very dear professor when we were arguing about what to do, his answer was, don't just do something, stand there, just like Raleigh and Chapel Hill have done.
Thank you, Mr. Gutman. I'm sorry. Maya Korn, not have, Manju. Please say your last name. I'm going to get it one day.
Manju Rajendran. We can work on it off screen.
We'll work on it.
I would like to thank our mayor and our city council for working hard to listen to Durham residents from every walk of life. My name is Manju Rajendran, and I'm here alongside fellow Durham residents calling out for a permanent ceasefire. A week ago, the World Health Organization's director announced that now over 100,000 Gazans are either dead, injured, or missing since October 7th, many of whom are children. As a mother of two, I'm unable to remain silent as innocent children and their families are killed, injured, displaced, and disappeared with our dollars. Today, Durham lifts 100,000 roses to end the genocide. As an organizer working in communities of color in Durham for 25 years, I am unable to remain silent as our federal dollars flow to Israel's military spending instead of bringing peace to our people here in the Bull City. We will end the cultures of domination and extraction that poison our world and extinguish the war economy. It is our collective responsibility to do everything in our power to bring genocide to an end and restore freedom and sovereignty to Palestine. May the city of Durham model for this nation what it means to acknowledge the unjust apartheid occupation that began long before October 7th. Durham residents have the power to bring genocide to an end by joining municipalities across the U.S. calling for ceasefire. I urge our city council to tell the truth that you know in your hearts without fear. Never again is right now. Ceasefire. Ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. Stop the occupation. Stop the occupation.
Thank you for your time. Adjourn, Marie Brown.
Thank you for introducing this ceasefire resolution. All of us here in Bull City live on land that was violently colonized by people who saw Indigenous and Black people as animals, as the Israeli leaders have been speaking of the Palestinians throughout this campaign. The U.S. is not a moral authority for peace or justice. This is how we need to learn. We need the leadership and guidance of our Palestinian and Arab leaders, as well as our Jewish beloveds who are speaking through their own trauma and their own need for safety to recognize that all of us need to be safe together, and genocide does not make us safer. The subjugation and murder of others never makes us safer. With 100,000 Palestinians murdered in 125 days and more civilian deaths than any other conflict this century, Palestine is demanding that we grow our souls. From Monday until today, hundreds were killed or starved to death. Those are on us. We have to turn the tide of our government. We have to make this change. Please add these edits to your current proposal. An immediate and permanent ceasefire. Stop sending Israel aid and arms through this tantrum. U.S. funding and support is the only way this genocide is able to continue. Please do your job as if your family is in Gaza and, like the people there, cannot get safe, cannot get out. Craft this resolution for your own family. Please make the demands you would make for your own children. Never again, not in our names, ceasefire. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, that was Adrienne Marie Brown. Responding to a message from the clerk. This one is Victor Ortiza.
Hi, my name is Victor Urquiza.
I am a Durham resident, a workers' rights organizer with United for a Fair Economy, and a member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I am here today to make a comment on the ceasefire resolution being considered by the Durham City Council. There is something very important still missing. You omitted the word genocide. While it is great that the City Council is considering to pass this resolution, something that the Raleigh City Council has completely failed to do, any resolution based in reality must address that there's a genocide being committed with our tax dollars. This resolution must also address the need to cut off all aid to military aid to Israel and demand an end to the occupation of Gaza, the West Bank, and historic Palestine. In 4 months of Israel's bombing, over 30,000 Palestinians have been murdered and 1.9 million Gazans have been displaced. That is almost the entire population of Gaza. With Israel's total blockade of Gaza, there are severe shortages of medicine, no electricity, and a looming famine for the entire population. Mayor Williams, this is not an issue of two sides. How can you possibly conflate this as a both sides argument when one side has one of the biggest armies in the world, armed with nuclear weapons funded by the United States, and the other side has no standing army and infrastructure that has been crippled due to decades of Israeli occupation, and half of their population are children? One side is begging for an end to the genocide, and the other side wants to continue it. Which side do you stand on? If by now you have not seen which side stands with humanity, then you are not fit to serve in public office. History will not look kindly on politicians who stood by and did nothing. What the City Council witnessed on Monday was a powerful and peaceful demonstration, not a mob, by a Durham community to make sure this council heard our demands for
Thank you, Mr. Ortiza, for your
free
time.
Palestine.
The next few names that I have, King Sage, Lee Mortimer, Gabriella Lott, Rabbi Matthew Safer, and Rakia Devashti. Thank you for being here.
Peace, y'all. My name is King Sage. I'm here today grateful that I know that the power of collective voice still works. You can't hear me. Can I start over? Peace, y'all. My name is King Sage. I'm here today feeling grateful that I know that the power of our collective voice still works, that our freedom songs still hold great power. I want to affirm the work of Council Members Cook and Baker. Thank you for hearing us. As this resolution is edited, I urge you to walk away from the temptation of mass appeal. Instead, walk toward the lingering song and uplifted voices from Monday night's action. When we fight together, we know that the genocidal intent of Israel is unmistakable and must be clearly named, even and especially in the face of Zionists who would rather have you believe that the present tense slaughter of the people of Gaza is justifiable. When we breathe together, we know that the U.S. is no stranger to misnaming genocide. My breath carries me to the memory of my ancestors. It carries me to the memory of southern trees that still stand, bearing the memory of bloody leaves and bloody roots. When we grieve together, we must know that Palestine bears this same wound. My duty is to the legacy of the Black and brown freedom fighters who got me here. My duty is to the founding members of the SNCC, hailing from right here in North Carolina at Shaw University, who, as they prepared to usher the South into a generation of resistance against segregation, took the time to write what we are asking you to write today, a passionate decrying of the genocide and apartheid occupation of Palestine. Look it up. Their writing was really, really powerful. When we stand together, we align our commitment to liberation from our words to our actions.
Thank you so much for your time.
So we can get clear on what our duty is during this time. What is your duty
Next person I have is Lee Mortimer. Thank you. Thank you.
Lee Mortimer, 35-year resident of Durham. I want to commend this council for your courage in formulating a message that addresses our community's deep anguish over the devastation engulfing Gaza, and as our government does little to nothing to halt the carnage. I'm also a board member of Voices for Justice in Palestine. We did not hesitate to condemn on our website Hamas's brutal violence against Israelis on October 7th. But there is no justification for the deaths of so many defenseless women, children, elderly, and entire families. Israel's indiscriminate bombing and the massive civilian death toll constitute a war crime, and the Biden administration is deeply complicit. Israel says it wants to destroy Hamas and rescue their remaining hostages. Their unrelenting assault may cripple Hamas's military capability, but the thousands of families that's devastated by the ongoing slaughter will create legions of embittered survivors to carry on where Hamas left off. And thinking that overwhelming firepower will bring their hostages out alive simply defies logic. Washington listened when local governments around the country, including the Durham City Council, took a stand against South African apartheid in the 1980s. In an election year when a recent NBC poll showed 60% disapproval of Biden's handling of this war, your voice is needed to get their attention. Thank you.
Next, I have Gabriella Lott.
My name is Gabriella Lott, and I'm here to call on my elected officials to pass a serious ceasefire resolution. I fully support the resolution drafted by several community organizations, and for the sake of time, I'll ask you to refer to the hundreds of emails with the requested amendments from that resolution. I wouldn't use my time to respond to what Councilmember Freeman said, that words in a resolution can't get everything right, and what Quay Weston said on Zoom, that a ceasefire resolution is just the first step. So what else can council do? Right now, institutions across the world are divesting from companies that profit from and prop up the occupation. In January, Hayward, California divested $1.6 million from Chevron, Intel, Caterpillar, and Hyundai. Their council knew their investments were supporting the destruction and genocide of the Palestinian people and their land, so they put their money where their mouth is. Durham City Council can do this too. For those of us whose tax dollars, gas purchases, Amazon orders, and everyday actions support Israel by default, we have to take intentional everyday actions to support Palestine instead. Thousands of your constituents get this. They're taking countless actions to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. As council members, many of whom hope to be elected again, y'all can follow those examples too. I urge the Durham City Council to take a first step by passing a strong ceasefire resolution that includes an immediate and permanent.
Thank you for your time. Next, I have Rabbi Matthew Soffer.
My name is Matthew Soffer, Senior Rabbi of Judea Reform Congregation, proud resident of Durham. I commend the drafters of this resolution for naming October 7th, when Hamas invaded Israel to brutally massacre more than 1,200 innocent civilians. I urge you to include in this resolution condemnation of Hamas's brutality, including sexual violence, decapitation, murdering babies, and burning Holocaust survivors alive. A month after October 7th, I went to Israel, to kibbutz near Oz. I walked in the rubble of these homes. I cannot unsee or unsmell what Hamas did before retreating to embed themselves in civilian population in Gaza. And still, I'm someone who calls for an end to this war, a multilateral ceasefire, an end to bloodshed, for humanitarian aid, and for the return of the hostages. Public vitriol that only targets Israel as genocidal and skips over October 7th and Hamas serves to grant Hamas immunity for the worst atrocity against Jews since the Holocaust. Despite the rage in the public square, there is a conscientious, faithful majority who believes there's no self-contradiction in saying in one breath that Israel as a state protecting 46% of Jews on earth has a right to defend itself, and the enduring occupation is a dehumanizing injustice. There's no contradiction in saying that Jews have a rightful place in their homeland, and so do Palestinians. In one breath, we can say that Hamas's charter is genocidal, and so are extremists in Israeli ministry. I support this passage.
Rabbi,
it moves us closer to each other's hearts. Thank you.
Thank you.
My earrings? Okay. Hi there. My name is Raki Devasali. I'm from North Carolina and a long-term resident and community doctor here in Durham. I love our state and our community here in Durham. I care about the people that stand against genocide in this moment, and even the ones who stand for it. I know, as I hope you do, that apartheid, war, oppression will not keep any of us safe anywhere for long, will not keep our children's futures intact, will not get us to that future where we get to tend our broken hearts and thrive together. We have an opportunity in this terrible moment. We have witnessed 4 months straight as Palestinians document the horrors on the ground as Israel, with the financial support of our tax dollars, decimate families and cities, land, and safety. We in Durham have a chance to add our voice to the millions around the planet who are naming this as a genocide, calling for it to stop, and being specific about what money and from where must stop funding bombs. Y'all are leaders in our community. As such, this moment requires you to stand for what's moral and just and lead us, all of us, towards the beautiful, thriving future we all want. A future where all of our lives are equally worthy of protection. That means being bold and being clear that none of the world's great religions endorses standing with a genocidal military superpower against the poor, displaced, and hungry. No matter what debunked myths are levied or accusations that come your way. We are lucky in this room to not be in the line of fire, and that means it's on us and honestly the
Thank you for your time.
to sign on to this resolution.
I have 3 cards left. Victor Iquiza. Right. I have Imam Rafiq Zawdi Muhammad, and Laura, I'm going to say Laura Gabney or Gibney. Gibney. All right. Thank you, Imam. You have 1.5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Council Body. My name is Imam Rafiq Zaidi Muhammad. I'm a member of the Nation of Islam. We are seeking a clear and just resolution to cease fire in the Gaza without nepotism. There really can be no peace without justice, no justice without truth. America is on the brink of anarchy. At this juncture, mounting pressure and global condemnation of both Israel and Hamas and the United States, voices are increasing the cry to stop assault, stop genocide, and the destruction of the Palestinian people amid an escalating humanitarian crisis and expanding war. We who cry out for immediate resolution in this matter desire to reason with the political leadership with the hope of formulating a cooperative effort for the benefit of us all, for the good of the whole. That is what time demands at this point. If we do not make an earnest move towards real resolutions, then each moment, each day, we move closer to revolution in this country and anarchy in cities across the nation and abroad. At the onset, we understand that there are difficulty factors in this mission. We're formulating a resolution due to the very unique nature of these times, which is the great time of trouble mentioned in the 12th chapter of Daniel.
Thank you for your time. And as we hear you, Ms. Gibney, you said Gibney, right?
Gibney, yes.
Gibney, okay, thank you for being here. And I have one last card, Rania Masri, Arania. There we go. All right, you may go.
On January 26 of this year, my heart broke within hours of the International Court of Justice ruling that there is a plausible case for genocide against Israel and Gaza. The White House mocked the ruling and suspended aid to UNRWA, the humanitarian organization aiding over 2 million desperate Gazans. They took this action on the basis of unverified allegations by Israel that a handful of the 13,000 UNRWA workers in Gaza were involved in the October 7th attack. At the same time, the administration took no measures against Israel to stop its well-documented genocidal violence. It continues its daily supplies of bombs and arms to Israel and now solicits another $17.6 billion taxpayer dollars for Israel. My heart broke on January 26 because of the impact the suspension of aid could have on Gaza's survival, but also because it demonstrated to Palestinians that the U.S. would ignore the ICJ rulings and continue to punish them, the victims of decades of apartheid and occupation and of this genocidal onslaught. And they would continue to support the oppressor, the occupier. The message is sent to Palestinians was clear: you don't matter, you are worthless. Many of us in Durham want to send the opposite message to Palestinians: you are worthy, you are not dispensable. And we want to send a message to the White House and Congress that we do not accept their cruel disregard for Palestinian lives. They could stop this genocide now by ending the supply of weapons. Thank you.
And could you pronounce your name so I can make sure I state it correctly?
Mayor, my name is Rania Al-Masri. I am here speaking in support of the resolution. I find it very painful that when we mourn, when we call for freedom and liberation, we are accused of anti-Semitism. What does this mean? It means that for them, our mere lives are an existential threat when our mourning is considered anti-Semitism. They cry for their hostages but refuse to listen to the very families of those hostages who have called for a ceasefire. Their hatred for our lives is greater than their love for their own. In the United States, another Palestinian was stabbed. This is the third attack in just the past few months against Palestinians in the United States, real deliberate attacks. In Gaza, 110,000 are either killed, injured, or dying under the rubble. 565,000 are expected to die within the year in Gaza. My question to all who oppose a ceasefire or all who consider this to be too complex is, until when? How many of our loved ones must die for their vengeance to be calmed? This isn't complex. We need you to call for a permanent ceasefire, to call for an end to U.S. military aid, to call for the United States to respect and comply with the legally binding measures of the International Court of Justice, which is the highest law of the land in the United States, and we call on you to call on President Biden to refund UNRWA. We are needing you to read the evidence and not listen to mere accusations. Like I said, this is not complex. The question to you, do you agree with Thomas Friedman, who labeled me and my family and my community as insects in the New York Times? Or do you really believe that all lives are equal and all life is precious? If you believe in the latter, then call for a permanent ceasefire, humanitarian aid to all, and respect of national and international law. Thank you.
Those are all of the cards that I have, all of the speakers that I have for today. I want to thank everyone for having the courage to share their pain, share their experiences, your lived experiences. I want to appreciate everyone for, just putting in the time to, just come together around whatever position it is. This is a situation where it's impossible for everyone to be pleased with an outcome. And I just want to, really highlight that the resolution that we have before us didn't start this way. It did not start this way. And I received a phone call one evening, and it was Councilmember Cook. And she said, this is personal to me, and I want to, she said, this is personal to me. I have skin in the game now. And I said, I respect that. And I said, there's a process that I took lead on behalf of the council, and she said, I understand, but, I think we can pull something together. And I said, well, go ahead and work on that. And she worked on it, and then she sent it back to me and sent it to our colleagues, and she said, everyone just give me feedback. And for me specifically, she said, would you please share it with your small group and get their feedback? And there are a lot of people that have, really viewed it. There are a lot of eyes that have been laid on it. There are quite a few folks that have provided feedback. And I still don't think we're at the final edit. There's some wording, just some small things that have to be considered. To Councilmember Risk's point, what he was referring to earlier, I remember what happened retroactively, the last resolution that the council took on. I believe it was, I may have the year wrong, was it 2018? Councilmember Freeman, 2018? And I still get emails about that. I actually got cursed out about it, and I wasn't even looking into politics at the time. But the best way I figured we could take this on was to gather a small group of people who, what I called my team of intellectual rivals. And there were imams, there were rabbis, there were Christian leaders, there were activists. It was intentionally a very small room. And it was a very heavy evening. It was the night of the day that we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And it was a very, very, very difficult conversation to have. And, there's, I know I had to be vulnerable. And, and I said I was going to protect the people who were brave enough to come in that room. And if they ever wanted to, just share publicly who they were, then they have that right. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of anger. I broke down in tears because I just didn't want to hurt anybody. And it is very, very, very scary when you bring people in such a small room whom totally disagree with one another. And they're bringing in their personal experiences, literally personal, as in family members on both sides of the issue being impacted by this matter. And then you have the voice of, what about Durham? How is it that our issues here are being overshadowed? And I've yet to sit comfortable with an either or in this conversation. We do have to create space. We came out of that evening, I wouldn't dare say everyone was agreeing with one another, but there was definitely mutual respect. And that was progress in my eyes. And that evening, we ended it with what must be in this? What must be in this collective of words? Whether it's a resolution, whether it's a proclamation, whether it's a statement, whatever it is. And based on that experience, based on those words, I authored a statement. My colleague authored a resolution. And I believe that is the approach that this council is going to assume. And I appreciate people, you come up here to the podium and you demand your desires, and you do it from a position of, be brave, be courage, do what I want you to do, or do what we want you to do. That is how it's interpreted, and it comes from both sides. But what is the bigger picture from where I'm sitting is when I look out in the audience, I see people who have very different perspectives sitting amongst one another. You're sitting at the same level, you're sitting in the same seats, you're sitting in the same part of the room. And what we're experiencing in real time is how we deliberate very difficult conversations and ideals in this country. So I have a great deal of gratitude for my colleagues and how we see things differently and have enough respect for one another to find, I wouldn't even say a happy medium, but find a consensus or just have the ability to compromise. And that is what I'll always have respect for. And if you look at one of my colleagues or myself and say, you didn't do what I told you to do, the blood is on your hands, or you didn't do what I told you to do, we're going to continue to be vulnerable and feel unsafe. That is your right. But it is really easy to be a critic when you don't have to be the actor. And this is a very, very, very tough role. And these are heavy decisions we have to make. And at the end of the day, we have to go home to our families and we have to still try to live our lives. But whether we agree or not, one thing's for sure, when we go home at night, we take your pain with us. And that is the weight of an elected official. So however we end up with this, but which I feel good about, I feel like we've put a lot of work into it, but wherever we end, I hope that we will end this as we matriculate in our lives together with a mutual respect for one another. Because we cannot kill ourselves off. And I don't mean that physically or realistic. I mean just like in our ability to work together. So colleagues, I personally want to thank you all. This is a work session, so it won't require a vote today. We will have this on our general business agenda on Monday, where I'm pretty sure we'll have a bit more dialogue about it, and we'll go from there.
I want to appreciate you bringing Councilmember or Mayor Pro Tem Middleton into the room today and making sure that you said every word. I was just saying, I want to appreciate you, bringing in Mayor Pro Tem Middleton and, having the long speech.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, it's perks to be a mayor. All right, next up, thank you all so much. Feel free to stay for the interesting things. The water management presentation. Colleagues, actually, let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll be right back at it. I can't even see back there. It's 3:08. We'll come back. We'll come back at about 3:13.
Recording stopped.
I'll give it a few more minutes to get our colleagues back. I'm really excited, Mr. Don Greeley, because you're so exciting and entertaining. I did get a chance to tour the water management facility. All of it. Well, most of it. Most of it. No, well, not all of them. What is it called? Miss Creek, yeah. Miss Lake, yeah. I did not know all of that was over there. That's the part I didn't get a chance to see. So I went from the conference room where we do the retreats all the way over to the offices and the H2O, Studio H2O and all that stuff.
See the gym?
I've been there, yeah.
Did you see the gym?
Wow. Now, I think still the wastewater management facility is the most fascinating. I mean, just how complex it is, how they do the renewable energy with the methane gas. I mean, I'm like, every school needs to take a field trip out there. It's fascinating. I mean, they were using all these words that I could never pronounce. Like, have you been out there, Cole?
I've been out there just to film our video.
No. I mean the wastewater management.
Yeah,
To see that plant at work.
Yeah. Actually, I'll have to show you something. When I was a kid, my aunt was a teacher. This is in Fort Lauderdale. She took us out to the wastewater treatment to see how it worked back then. So I just picture of us as little kids start seeing how it works.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure it's much more sophisticated.
All right, thank you all so much for your patience. We will resume, and at this time, we have our we have a presentation by our director, Don Greeley, and let's see here.
It's 39.
Yep, from our Water Management Department, item 39, City Council lead and copper rule revision presentation. We have 20 minutes. Don't feel like you have to take all of it, but we have 20 minutes for you. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Williams. Good afternoon, members of council, and as well as the residents that are here. We're here today to give you some general information about the EPA regulations concerning the lead and copper rule revision that was adopted back in 2021. We've been working on compliance with those regulations for the last several years, and we're about to enter a phase where we're going to be doing some outreach to our community. So we felt it was important to come here today to give you a better understanding of the rule and what we have to do and how it might impact our residents. And also to give you an understanding of what other items might be coming forward in future council meetings for your consideration. There's actually, you've already seen one item, and that's the $30 bill credit earlier today. So, but first off, before we get into the rule, I wanted to talk about our mission statement in water management was to provide cost-effective water and wastewater services that meet the customer's expectations and all regulatory requirements. When it comes to water, our mission is to protect the public health of our community and make sure that the public has the trust in water management in the city of Durham that we are looking out after their public health. So that's an important component of our public outreach. Some important facts about Durham's drinking water and how we're keeping Durham lead-free and lead-safe. Water leaving the city of Durham's water treatment plant is lead-free, and it is tested every single day. Residents that are interested in looking at our water quality can do that at any time. We publish an annual water quality report. Residents can look at the most recent report as well as prior years at the water management web pages on the City of Durham website. We have been in compliance with the original lead and copper rule since the early 1990s, excuse me. There was some concerns raised in 2006, which at the leadership at the time, both with water management and city manager's office, actually had discussions with EPA, but we've been in compliance since the rule came out. Lead can enter drinking water by leaching from lead pipes that connect some older homes to the water system, a process called corrosion. North Carolina banned the use of lead service lines and lead solder in 1985, and we are confident to say that lead service lines are lead-free starting in 1988 to account for any older materials that might have been used in the construction between 1985 and 1988. Lead in drinking water can also come from household plumbing fixtures, brass or chrome-plated brass faucets that contain lead. That was the use of lead in fixtures was banned in 2014, so for your information. But why does lead come out of these fixtures and pipes? Well, lead is corrosive by nature. At the water treatment plants, we add zinc orthophosphate to manage the pH levels of our water, and that significantly lowers the potential for any lead coming out of our water. We test our water triannually per EPA regulations for lead and copper as part of our corrosion control program. And I'm happy to say that a majority of our results that any lead and copper, if it is there, it's below detection levels. And the few houses that might have a slightly above detection level, it is significantly, I mean significantly below any action levels. So we've been, our corrosion control program has been very successful. As we've seen across the country, lead does leach out, and that's part of the reason why there's a crisis in Flint. That was caused when they changed water sources, and they chose not to continue to have a corrosion control program to inhibit lead from coming out of their pipes, and that led to the crisis in Flint, Michigan. And that is similarly to the crises you've seen in other communities across the country, where they have not really had a good corrosion control program, and that has led to older lines leaching out. But I want to reiterate that a strong corrosion control program is effective and has been effective in Durham. As far as the requirements for the rule revision, there are several components. I'm mostly going to talk about the service line material inventory, but there are other components. We'll have to develop a lead service line replacement plan. We've already started increasing our compliance sampling, and we'll be also sampling in schools and daycares across our community. I mentioned our corrosion control treatment. We'll continue to make sure that that's optimized for our drinking water in our community, and also a big component of public education and outreach. And I did want to mention that it did talk about school and daycare sampling. We've been working with Durham Public Schools for decades about their schools and doing sampling testing for them and helping them when they've had issues. So we've had a good working relationship with Durham County Schools. There has not been the private schools and daycares has not been, and that's a change in the rule that we'll be sampling it also in those facilities as well. So a big part of the rule is talking about lead service lines. And what we mean by lead service lines are lines that come from the water main and the street into the home. And there's three components of water as it comes into out of the faucet. There's the service owned line, as you see in this diagram, that's between the water main and the meter. There's the private side between the meter and the house, and then there's the premise plumbing. The lead and copper rule covers the service-owned service line and the customer-owned service line. It does not cover the premise plumbing. That's separate from that. In some communities, the whole service line is owned by the utility, and in some communities, the whole service line is owned by the homeowner. In our community, it's publicly owned from the water main up to the meter, which is the right-of-way line, the property line, and then it's privately owned from there to the house. So we have over 96,000 service lines in our system. So that means we have to know, as part of our inventory, 96,000 public service line components and 96,000 private components. So as you can imagine, that's a lot of work. We have been working with CDM Smith, a consultant, to help us with this effort. The inventory needs to be completed by this October. We don't necessarily have to know all of the service lines and what the material are, but we do have to complete our inventory. So we've been working hard to try to get as complete an inventory as possible. We're about to finalize our public outreach to a community to help engage them to help us with that inventory. And we're also proposing a $30 bill credit, which is on this council cycle, to help with that validation. As you've seen in the agenda item, the $30 bill credit saves the city a tremendous amount of money, because having to validate it ourselves can cost anywhere between $250 and $600 to validate the service line. So we're hoping to engage the community to help us. So what do we know so far about those 96,000 service lines? Well, by looking at all of our internal records with the city and looking at homes that were built after 1988, we know that 73% of the public service lines are not lead. And based on our review, we're projecting of the unknowns, so the 25% so left, that 15% will turn out to be pretty confident they'll not be lead, so that leaves about 12% of that be unknown. On the private side, as you can see, we still have a lot of work to do, which is why we need to engage our customers and our residents to help us with that inventory. So we need to continue to identify the unknowns. Part of the process that we'll be doing is we'll be having outwardly at our website, the city's website on the Durham Water Management page, we'll be having a map where customers can click on their home and see the information about their service, both the private side and the public side. So it'll be very public facing. And they'll be able to also click on their neighbors if they're interested to see the other community. We'll also be using that website as a tool to help get permission to go into their, if they don't want to self-validate what their plumbing is, then they'll be able to give us permission to come onto their property to do that engagement. So we're really excited about this. We've already gone through a couple of demonstrations of that, and it works really well. We're really excited to push that out, and we'll be doing that shortly.
Sorry, just to interrupt you, that is a really cool feature. And if no one's really listening,
right?
They probably missed it, but that's really cool. I just wanted to highlight that.
It's a graphic map that they can just click on their neighborhood and see.
I was just stating that was my one of my two questions was there a map?
Yeah.
And now that you said there's a map, I'm hoping that there's going to be a demonstration of using the map that Ms. Thompson's going to help us with.
Yes. Part of when I get to my public engagement, we're working on that too as well. And we'll be constantly updating that, so it'll be updated in live time. So as residents can click on and see how, if it's unknown, as changes happen. So we're real excited about that. We're starting, as I mentioned, we'll be starting our public engagement next month to start potholing and do crawl space inspections for those houses that have crawl spaces. Of course, we have challenges when there'll be houses on slabs. So that's why we need to do the potholing in the yards to determine the service line. As I mentioned, we'll have to submit to the state before 2024. And just to reiterate, we won't know 100% by this October, but we need to continue to work on that. EPA is working on lead and copper rule improvements, and we expect them to push out that rule later this year, and that clarifies some of the work of the rule revision, including in that before you just had to work on 3% of the unknowns every year. Now you have to have done within 10 years. So we have to have all the unknowns known within a 10-year time frame. But we want to be done within the next couple of years. We don't want to wait the full 10 years. A picture map of where the knowns and unknowns are in the city. As you can see, the black is the knowns, the yellow is the unknowns, and they're pretty spread out across our whole system. So we'll be engaging in all of the communities throughout the city. When it comes to talking about community engagement goals, certainly we want to be very transparent, responsive. We want to be reassuring to our community about our drinking water quality, and we want to engage our community about the inventory. We've hired a part-time communication staff to help dedicated wholly to these efforts, working with our existing staff. They're working closely with CDM to come up with a public information outreach plan, and we'll be working with Beverly Thompson and her staff to make sure that, we reach out to our community. And as I said, we'll have lots of additional information on the website, how to do those self-inspections, where to get information, et cetera. As far as our engagement strategy, we want to have continuous, ongoing, timely communication because it affects the broad community. We want to make sure we reach out to everybody that we possibly can. So we have a variety of initiatives that you see here, and we hope to have a positive response from all of our residents. And if you have any other thoughts, we're happy to take in any other great ideas that we can take in to reach out to our community. As I mentioned, other requirements we have, we have to develop our service replacement plan. We'll be doing that in the next couple months. As I said, right now we haven't seen any lead service lines, but we do have to have a plan in place in case we find some. We're updating our sampling protocols and locations. As I said, we'll be increased sampling and public outreach after 2024, October this year. So it'll be ongoing. We've been working on the inventory and developing the public outreach plan, and we'll be starting, as I said, next month with our public outreach on what you might see as far as future actions by City Council around this. For us doing compliance, there's the $30 bill credit, which currently is in cycle. We may do additional contracts for inventory verification. We will bring the service line replacement plan to you for consideration after we discuss that with the city manager's office. Approving of any additional grants. As you're aware, we received a $1 million grant from the state of North Carolina to help us with our efforts in identifying our inventory, and we expect there to be more funding available, and as well as there's a bit of additional funding coming out of Washington to help fund replacement of lead service lines. So we expect that there to be opportunities in the future, and also, of course, receive updates as needed. So the inventory is, to us, is the root of the Lead Safe Durham, and as I said, all of those efforts in the boxes that I've talked about are a part of us being lead safe in Durham. Just some general guidelines that we give residents if they are concerned about their service line. Certainly running cold water at least 5 minutes before using. That helps get the water out of the house and turns the water over before using. Use cold water, especially for baby formula. Warmer water tends to leach, if there is any lead, easier than cold water. So we use cold water. Change your aerators. At any time, any resident can call Durham On Call for a test. It's free. And we're happy to come out and take a water sample in your home and test it and give you the results. So certainly can use filters, and if there's any worry about lead exposure, certainly call Durham Public Health. So as our goal is to protect public health, and the more we know, the better we can protect. So we're really hoping to engage our citizens to be about the inventory and to better educate them and to make sure that they feel confident in Durham's drinking water. Currently, you can to find information about lead in drinking water, you can, the website, leadsafedurham.org, that takes you directly to our web pages on the water management website and the city's website. You can also email leadsafedurham@durhamnc.gov. As I mentioned, you can call Durham One Call at any time about getting your residents can call at any time to get their water tested. And you can also call us staff on that number that's listed there, leave a message, and we'll call you back and happy to answer any questions that anybody has. So with that, I'll just open it up for any questions anybody might have.
Thank you so much, Director Grady. I tease you a lot because you are very, just straightforward, and you don't get excited or sad or anything. You just are very straightforward on the information. But what you say is always, the work that you bring before us is always so impeccable, and I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing what my area, where I live, what's up there, and thanks for continuing the work to keep Durham's water award winning. Colleagues, Councilmember Cook.
Thank you for your presentation. As you know, I am new, so I'm just trying to get a footing, and I was hoping you could answer a couple of broad questions for me quickly. The first is that my understanding of lead contamination is related to water flow, and I know that we don't have a decreasing population like some of these cities who have had issues, and in fact, we have the opposite. We have quite an increasing population, and I was wondering if you could speak to how an increasing population is affecting y'all's progress moving forward, if there's anything that we should look out for in that.
Strictly related to water quality, or as a broad question?
Strictly related to water quality, yeah. So I mean, I imagine we're going to be required to put in more infrastructure around these things, and I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit briefly. I know it's a very broad question.
Yeah. For us to, in water management and working closely with the city manager's office is to ensure that, Durham's needs around, water and wastewater are met as we go forward. From our standpoint, we're looking 40, 50 years in the future. So all of our master planning, all of the CIP projects that you'll see coming forward are to make sure that there's enough capacity and that all the regulations are being met so that Durham can continue to grow. It's a challenge. There's a lot of challenges, both from the growth of the city and the aging infrastructure that we have to be replacing that, as well as new regulations that are coming down the pike. So we try to balance those three legs of the triangle with our capital program and our operations to try to make sure that we're meeting all of those needs going forward. As far as water quality, it's key for us to, as new regulations come along, that we continue to be looking at simultaneous compliance, because you don't want to change one thing to meet one rule and have it affect another rule. So it's really important for us to be able to, at any given time as these regulations come out, that we need to consider potentially water quality and changing processes or adding new processes, is how do they all interrelate to make sure that the water is safe and we're meeting all the regulations. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thanks. And then you talked about $1 million grant that you have to assist with inventory. Can you tell us a little bit more about where that grant came from? And you said, I think, that there was going to be more money forthcoming, and just talk about that.
So we've been told, there's been several awards from coming out of Washington as far as directed towards EPA to support this effort. And those funds are funneled through the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality, the Water Infrastructure Division. And we applied for that grant because they targeted money just for the inventory in targeted areas. And we applied for the $1 million grant and we were successful, so we're really excited about that. And we've been told that there will be additional funds in the future.
Councilmember Freeman.
Thank you. I appreciate Councilmember Cook covering that question. I just want to add that it would be helpful to figure out I don't know if it's legal or not, but figuring out if we can prioritize, I guess, any of the grant funding we might be able to make available to people who are of low age or low income, or homeowners who are low income, and then figuring out how to include people with disabilities, and then also seniors. just because I know it's not going to be enough money to do everybody, but figuring out how to prioritize that group of people.
Right, and that's what the $1 million grant was dedicated, is specifically for areas that have been identified in Durham for that. So, but we'll continue to look at that as a priority.
Okay.
And certainly anybody who has a health risk, who's at risk with their health.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Greeley, for the presentation. Really appreciate the thoughtfulness of your department and thinking through these very strategically over, as you said, 30 years in advance. It gives a lot of confidence to the residents of Durham to know that our water management folks are thinking about this. Actually, and I should say as an aside, before I came on council in my work as a consultant, I've been to Flint. I've worked with folks in Flint. So I've been there and I've seen the devastating impacts of the water crisis for families across Flint. So this is serious stuff. My question is simple, and I love the idea of the $30 bill credit for homeowners to help identify service lines. My question is maybe just a basic one, was like these service lines from the meter to the house are underground, right? So how would a homeowner who wants to help out to do that identification, how would they do that?
We'll have some videos and do that. Certainly the ones that you can't verify, like house on a slab, you'll contact us, give us permission to come on the property, and we'll be potholing, which is vacuum excavation down to the service line to determine what its material is.
So potholing, that's a term for it. So you're actually sort of probing down through the yard into the service line.
It's like a vacuum that kind of goes down. It sucks the dirt up to create an opening about 6 inches in diameter as we go down. And it's very unobtrusive, and it goes down until we see the material and then determine it.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilmember Baker.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Cook asked one of the questions that I was going to. We receive money, federal resources through NCDEQ. Correct. So do you feel confident that you have the capacity and will continue to have the capacity to be able to apply for the various grants that EPA offers moving forward?
We do.
Okay.
Right. And that's CDM Smith, who's the consultant who's working with us. They're assisting us with those grant applications as well as city staff and finance staff, et cetera.
All right. Thank you so much for your presentation. Colleagues, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will entertain a motion to proceed to closed session.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I need to settle stuff up, right?
Go ahead.
Thank you and good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. I have the board and committee report, and I'll pull it up right here. The Durham Open Space and Trails Commission appointment, category of at-large, Jason Page. Human Relations Commission appointment, category of Caucasian non-Hispanic person, Amanda Borer. Mayor's Council for Women appointment, category Public Safety Sector, Leslie R. Reinick. Mayor Hispanic Latino Committee appointment, Josie D. Cordova. Participatory Budgeting Steering Committee appointment, category of Youth, Kwame Mensah-Boone. And then the last one, the Racial Equity Commission category at large, Elena Snavely, and that's the end of the report.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, at this time, I will acknowledge our manager to settle the agenda.
Move.
Second. Oh, no.
Got to say it.
Got to settle the agenda. Then I'll call for it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Durham City Council. For your City Council meeting, I have for consent items 1 through 38, general business agenda item number 46, and general business agenda public hearings items 40 through 43.
Thank you, Madam Manager.
And 46?
Yep. All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to proceed to closed session.
So much.
Second.
All right, it's been moved. Oh, I'm sorry. The motion needs to be read.
I need to read that motion, before, and y'all need to vote on that motion before we go into closed session. So getting back to the city attorney's priority item, The motion is to hold a closed session pursuant to NC General Statute 143-318.11A3 for attorney-client consultation concerning the handling or settlement of Darrell Howard versus City of Durham et al. And Darrell Dowdy et al. Versus City of Durham.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and properly second. If I could see all in favor by the raise of your hand. All opposed. Thank you. We will proceed to closed session. Do I state the location? In the committee room. Procedurally, once we conclude from the closed session, we will come back into open session in the committee room to end the meeting.